Right, royal unfairness now. Who got the blame when the Prince of Wales misbehaved?
Well, seeing we're in Britain, usually the Germans.
Yeah. Well, they are German, so...
Well, they are.
Is it this prince? Is this...
It's not actually this.
Is it another Charles?
Well, no, it's not actually. All princes of the blood...
Edward VIII was always in trouble as prince. Queen Victoria, so if I'm getting it right...
and indeed earlier ones were often in trouble.
He was...
What I'm really talking about here, I suppose, is the business of corporal punishment.
OK.
Until very, very, very recently in human history has it become unfashionable and indeed considered wrong to strike a child for a misdeed. It's now illegal to do so.
Is it?
I believe so. But it used
Just
to
on
be...
the way here, a small urchin annoyed me.
It used to be considered... It used to be considered not only empirically, but in every other sense, a good thing
How is he holding that child up? He's got his thumb wedged in his...
He's giving... Yes.
That's the only way of holding him up. It's like a bowling ball.
I don't know whether that's a Dickensian Do the Boys Fall from Nicholas Nickleby or something similar. But generally speaking, almost everybody was agreed that it was good for children to be beaten. There was the Bible. He who spareth the rod hateth his son. Withhold not correction from your child. Beat him with the rod, and thou shalt deliver his soul from hell. Apparently. Children were always beaten. Really, we are the first generation. I mean, I'm not. I was beaten a huge amount when I was a child. At prep school, God, yes. From the age of 7 till 13, at least twice a week. I was a bad boy, and I was always being thrashed.
What for?
Oh, well, stealing, lying, cheating, being cheeky, being a nuisance, evading games.
Being a smart-ass.
Yeah, being a smart-ass.
Too clever for your own good, that sort of thing. Always telling everybody what was going on.
All the things that annoyed people about...
Well, it certainly beat that out of you, didn't it?
Yeah, they did. Exactly. And I was beaten a good deal, and did me no harm at all. But it was common practice. But it was outlawed in state schools when? When was it actually made a law that you were not allowed to strike a child?
Than you think.
Well, I'd guess under New Labour, I would guess.
No.
No?
70s and the 70s?
It was 1986. 1986 when it was made illegal in state schools to beat children. And it was a very close vote. 231 to 230.
In state schools?
It was by one. And it was only... do you know whom the state school children have to thank for the fact that they were not beaten from that day forward? It's rather odd.
Michael Howard or something?
No, it's even weirder.
Anne Widdecombe.
No, it's just too weird to be believed. Fergie, dear Duchess of York Fergie.
The manager of Manchester United?
No, Duchess of York Fergie, as I said. I will repeat, Duchess of York Fergie, until you understand which Fergie I mean.
Finish my Fergie material. A tractor?
A massive Fergie, yes, you could say. That Fergie. Well, because it so happened that the vote was on that day that she was marrying Prince Andrew.
Yes.
And
She loves to marry Prince Andrew.
I think marrowing a prince is illegal.
Thank you for that. What a great expression. There's some time for some marrowing.
I'm going to Google that one.
And apparently the traffic held up enough Tory MPs who were likely to have voted to keep beating for the anti-beating measure to go through.
Was this a whipped vote or not?
Hey! I don't think it was.
I thought you meant she'd campaiged for it.
No, it just so happened the vote was... happened...
Entirely inadvertent, she did something useful.
Totally inadvertent. By mistake. By mistake, she helped. And when was it, or is it indeed illegal in private schools? In a private school...
You have to pay extra, though, don't you?
I think it isn't now, but it's very recent.
The Human Rights Act must.
Yes, in 1999, basically. Yeah. That's when that stopped being legal. But until then, children were beaten. And they were beaten for making mistakes, they were beaten for all kinds of different reasons. But there was this idea also that you learned better, that things literally could be beaten into you, knowledge could be beaten into you. So what happened when you came to a prince? You can't have a commoner, even their tutor, beating a prince because he's made a mistake in his algebra.
So you beat his teddy, did you? Was that
Well, you appointed someone, a child, a friend of the prince, who, when the prince made a mistake, you whipped him. And that phrase, which is in common currency, is whipping boy.
Why
That's what a whipping...
Well, and they become a peer then later on, don't they?
Yes, that's the point. It was actually a much sought-after post. Yeah. Fathers would want their sons to be the whipping boy. They would get close to the royal family. Charles I, for example, had a whipping boy when he was a prince, and he raised into the Earl of Dysart, a title that still exists, and they became quite powerful people. So the idea was, of course, is that they would be friends, that the prince would like his whipping boy, so that he would try hard, but obviously sometimes they might think, oh, I don't bloody care, he gets whipped. It's a most peculiar idea, but that is where the phrase whipping boy comes from.
And is there an official title as well? Because there are those titles like Silver Stick in Waiting. This could be Crimson Bottom.
Gentleman of the
coming inevitably.
Yes, Gentleman of the Stool was an existing one, as you know. It was the one who had to wipe the king's bottom under Henry VIII.
Can't they do anything themselves?
No, they seem not to be able to do anything themselves. There's a part of...
I assume you'd have a long stick.
Yes, I see.
A long stick with a rag on the end, do it from a distance.
There's a part of Germany called...
Sorry for all the mime.
Yes,
I've always wanted to be a mime.
Yeah.
This is the only opportunity I get.
It's a lot more fun than walking into the wind. Or I suppose you might be, I don't know.
You may think British schoolmasters are amongst the most sadistic, but it's to Germany we turn for really good examples of how to treat children. Swabia, in west southern Germany, there was a headmaster there who logged all his punishments in a book. And over his career as headmaster at this school, he logged 911,500 canings, 121,000 floggings, as well as numerous other punishments during a 51-year career. That's nearly 400 chastisements a week. Some of the work must have been delegated, he would be exhausted. Other punishments he logs include 700 boys made to stand with peas in their shoes, not too bad, and 6,000 made to kneel on the sharp edge of a stick. This was not a nice man,
It's not about the education.
It really isn't there.
There's something more going on.
Yeah, and Eton College had a famous headmaster called Dr. Keats. There's a Keats Lane in Eton, who was known as Flogger Keats. He once flogged the entire Eton cricket team for losing to Winchester, but including the scorer. So that was the whipping boy, and there's a kind of religious equivalent, isn't there? So if you take this poor boy who takes the sins of the prince, what was there in the Jewish faith that was the equivalent?
Well, you've got the lamb or the goat, haven't you?
The goat, famously known as the...
Sacrificial...
Scapegoat.
The scapegoat, exactly.
Oh, I was expecting the thing to go
No, that's exactly what they were. A scapegoat. There's the famous Holman Hunt painting of the scapegoat. And this was during the Day of Atonement, Yom Kippur. The goat would be sent out, as it were, to carry the sins of the people, for the people. It bore the sins of the people. And then, of course, Christianity is just a refinement of that, where the Christ bore the sins of the people. And it happens in a lot of religions. That you offload your own wickedness onto something else. But, yeah, so it is from whipping boys to scapegoats. And they exist in the language, still, this idea of offloading one's own guilt. In the Isle of Man, they had corporal punishment until 1976. And what type of wood did they administer it with?
Well, I know I'm going to get a buzz on this because it's normally called birching, but presumably it wasn't a birch.
It
doesn't matter because the
injustice is anyway.
So did it depend on how bad you'd been? So if you were really bad, it was holly. And they left the leaves on. Ooh. But if you weren't so bad, it would be like sort of willow fronds, you know, or balsa wood for you. But
Hazel. Yeah, the hazel. In Britain, birching, as it was known, was banned in 1948, but they didn't stop it until the 1970s in the Isle of Man, even though they tried to keep it by saying, all right, well, OK, what about if we let them keep their trousers on?
In America, there is still the tradition in some parts of birthday spanking. So,
really?
Yeah, where you go to school and then because it's your special day, and then there's a special treatment, the teacher takes the pedal out and then you get a few. And some people say, oh, we have to ban it, it's cruel. And then others say, no, we can't, it's a tradition.
Yes.
So and they have to carry on trashing the kids. That's
weird.
It's a bit like family Christmas. No one likes it still because it's a tradition. Everyone has to go through it.